Hello! Welcome to Emotional Badass, where Moxie meets Mindful. I'm Nikki Eisenhower, your host, life coach, and psychotherapist. And on today's episode, we're discussing intuition practice and all the vibes. Vibe is most certainly a buzzword right now and definitely in the hippy-dippy realm. I want to talk about it. I want you to consider that everything has a vibe. Every object, every thought, every emotion, every behavior. When people say high vibe, what are they talking about, right? They're usually referring to something positive. High vibe is another way to describe when something is operating at a high energetic frequency. You'll be able to feel in your gut and in your heart if something is vibrating at a high or low frequency. Now, this sounds very hippy-dippy to those of us that are starting to get into this work. I myself was raised Catholic in New Orleans, and part of that training and teaching, and it's certainly not particular to Catholicism, but some of that teaching for me, some of the messages that I picked up was that anything in the realm of this sort of new age stuff was very threatening to the religion I was raised in. So as I started to get into high vibe things and new age words and mindfulness, the whole shebang, a part of me really felt wrong, bad, dirty, even shameful. So I don't know if that's where you are, but that's certainly been part of my practice to be able to open up to the healing that I've needed and that I value, was to let go of that and create some of my own new truths. So when we talk high vibe and low vibe, I might argue that there's medium vibe out there. And I can prove that vibes are real and that you felt them even if you hear the word vibe and think, bullshit. Most of us have had the experience of walking into some room where we weren't there for the conversation. We don't know what happened, but we've walked in and we can feel that something is off. It's why we have phrases like, you could cut the tension with a knife. We can feel the vibes in the room if a couple has been arguing right before we walked in, right? Those are vibes. Those are low vibes. You might feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up. You might feel a tingling sensation in your skin. You might feel a flutter in your gut. And you may feel it in different ways that I haven't named and that I don't feel. So let's play a high, medium, low vibe game. I'm just going to name and list off some things to consider. One of the questions I get asked the most is the difference between intuition and anxiety. And it's a hard thing to describe in language and a hard thing to teach, but a necessary thing to open up to because it's not a concrete thing. It's something that we have to go through the process of feeling and getting to know our own vibes and how to raise them. So some things to consider on this quest to understand vibes. Think about anything you choose. It might be an object, a book, a photograph, a person, a time in your life, a movie. Hold that thing in consciousness. Does it feel light or heavy? Does it feel bright or dark? Does it feel clear or murky? Is there a certain acceptance energy or more of a fearful energy? Another way for me to ask that is this object or person or thing that you're holding in your consciousness, does it lean more towards fearful or unconditionally loving? Is it a hard place to fall or a soft place to fall? Take a few breaths into this new way of being, new way of considering. Consider where you felt the answers within your body to the questions or the ideas that I'm raising? What did you feel in your heart space? What did you feel in your gut? If your mind began to race and spin, I invite you to consider that that may be anxiety versus the intuitive knowledge of gut and heart. And gut and heart knowledge are continuously being proven by newfound science. What did this little exercise do for you? I talk about this in my boundaries course, that there was an old man I used to know. I used to work at an old airport where the World War II veterans would come and fly their old planes. They were old pilots. And they'd come every weekend. And so I saw them. They were regulars. And a lot of them would greet each other with a lot of love and softness and kindness. But the words coming out of their mouth, I remember one vividly seeing one of his friends and saying, "How you doing, you old son of a bitch?" The words on paper at first glance may be low vibe, but it was a high vibe exchange. That man's face would brighten, and that other man's face would brighten and laugh, and they'd connect and hug, slap each other on the back. We can feel the vibes differently than what our mind may interpret. If you've ever seen a movie where they're talking about raising the roof, or maybe you've been at a concert or a rave or a dance, and the DJ or the performer was asking to raise the roof, what he's asking is to raise the vibes. So here are some important takeaways that I hope you can take away and tuck in your pocket as we walk this seeking journey as highly sensitive people and empaths and survivors. We are powerful to change our vibes by changing our mind. I was raised in some super low vibes. I had no idea about the vibes when I was first going through depression as a young woman. Debilitating depression that made it hard for my body to move and get up and get a glass of water. We are powerful to change our vibes by changing our mind. Just simply by thinking, this will get better. All things pass. I am learning to take care of myself. We start to move away from the low vibe and towards a higher vibe. Our heart feels that, our gut feels that, and our mind is informed by that. We are powerful to change vibes by changing behavior. So I know a lot of us, especially those of us that are beginning a healing journey, and those of us who have been abused by trusted family members or trusted family friends or trusted teachers or trusted clergy, that's an extra added layer of betrayal. And those vibes are exceptionally low and dark. So if our mind is stuck and we're having a hard time getting our mind on board with higher vibe, know that we are powerful to change these vibes by changing behavior. So if it feels rather impossible to you to change your thoughts right now in this moment, know that you can change your behavior. Do some jumping jacks right now. Smile. Lift the corners of your mouth with me for a few seconds. Take a deep breath into that. Do you feel the shift in vibe? Another important takeaway, your heart knows what's up, y'all. Every narcissist or sociopath I have ever encountered in my life that I thought I didn't know immediately, I was pulling the wool over my own eyes. If I look back on those moments, my heart and my gut knew something wasn't right. It's a powerful tool and self-care to begin to melt into the power of the heart and the gut and to begin to trust the process and the observations of the heart and the gut. We're living in a society that overvalues the mind. And I'm not undervaluing the mind by saying that. I don't want to overvalue heart and gut wisdom. We need all three. We naturally project as a human species. So know that we have power to sort of own that natural projection. And instead of projecting judgment or shame or doubt or fear or stuckness, we can intentionally and mindfully project high vibes as an empowered choice. Now, the low vibe part of ourselves, and if we're sponges, if we're empaths, And if we grew up in low vibes, it makes sense and it's natural that we would have a low vibe part of us that wants to process the world through low vibes. We still have the choice. We don't have to allow that part of our consciousness to grab a hold and steer the bus of our lives. Choose to project higher vibes into your world and the world, and it will come back to you. Your gut will feel that. Your heart will feel that. Your body will feel it. Your mind will feel it. Your family, your friends, your children, your pets will feel it. And what will be reflected back at you are higher vibes. I don't know about you, but I want my high vibes snowballing. I don't want the low vibes snowballing. I want the high vibes to build and to support me. Choose the empowered choice of projecting high vibes. Know that when we refuse this choice, we are mindlessly or mindfully embracing a victim mentality. And in my opinion, a victim mentality encompasses some of the lowest vibes we can feel. Victim mentality is super low vibe. So if you're there, I invite you to push against it. A lot of us have been victim to energy vampires. Energy vampires seem to have an endless amount of energy. Why? They know how to walk into the room and suck the high vibes. Then they walk out and they ride their high vibe wave. And then we wonder where our high vibes go when we're surrounded by these energy vampires. And we often wonder, what's wrong with me? Why is my mood so low? Why am I being so down and low vibe? What happened? An energy vampire sucked my high vibes. So especially when we don't have tools and strategies of self-care and blocking, when we don't have the tools of boundaries for the energy vampires that are rampant in the world, we can lose our high vibes. Be aware of that and take care of yourself around it. Don't fall into the delusion that we are supposed to be high vibe constantly. Early in my yoga teaching career, I think I fell victim to this. That I had this vision of a yoga teacher being constantly 100% high vibe and spiritual all the time. What a ridiculous ideal that I pressured myself with. Privately, when people show up for individual sessions with me, they often start with they don't understand why they feel such a trust by hearing my voice through the show. I think it's because I don't try to put on that I'm higher vibe than I am. I'm often medium vibe to high vibe. And in our society, someone that's constantly high vibe, we might call this mania. We also might call it denial of what's real. We might call a constant high vibe even a little delusional. We might even call it masking or hiding or stuffing. We might call it spiritual diversion. Sometimes the spiritual people out there, y'all have the same expectation I did as a spiritual yoga teacher. And it's important that we let that go so that we're teaching and leading and being healers in this field of wellness work from a place of truth and in this human condition. And we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And the human condition is not to be high vibe constantly. There's nothing spiritual about being false and phony. It's high vibe to be honest. Grief, as we go through some of the hard feelings of it, may feel very low vibe. Sadness, hurt, anger, pain may feel very low vibe. But we need these low vibe moments just like the earth needs day and night. If we had all daylight all the time, it would make us take the light for granted. We'd get sick of it. We would undervalue it. We really do need the balance of darkness and light, night and day, low vibe and high vibe. Remember above all that healing, self-development, no matter how much science proves all these things, it's in practicing the art form that requires permission to fumble through, to be messily human, and to embrace our newness, the unknown, the missteps, the shakiness of practicing new tools, new strategies, like learning how to be higher vibe. All of our failings and mistakes are lessons for the greater good. So we don't have to be scared of our low vibe moments. And we certainly don't need to process them as highly sensitive people who lean towards perfectionism as a failure. These mistakes and these low vibe moments are very important for the greater good of our human development and our balance as human creatures. When we embrace the entirety of who we are as spiritual beings having this human existence, we are as high vibe as it can get. I hope you got something that you needed out of this episode. I hope that when you listen to the show, it does elevate your vibes, even though we talk about hard things and that we confront and face what's difficult so that we can change and evolve and grow. I want to thank those of you who have gotten on iTunes to give us some 5-star reviews and to subscribe to the show. That helps us tremendously on the business end of how podcasting works and working that iTunes funky algorithm. So if you haven't already, we deeply appreciate a 5-star review. It really does help other highly sensitive people and empaths and survivors find the show. I want to thank Matthew 110183 for such a sweet review. I want to thank Evie, aka Bambi, for writing her beautiful review. Keep the faith. I want to thank Get Ready Wednesday Tarot. She wrote a review about feeling in the body, something we work on the show in different ways. 7 Equadiana 7, H Rose 29, thank you, and TK Cohen. Light and love to all of you. Thank you for whatever way you are supporting the show, whether it's by listening, by writing a review, by joining us at Patreon, by coming to our store and buying a t-shirt and showing the world that you're an emotional badass. I love this tribe. I'm so grateful for you and the growth we are collectively doing in the world. Your support encourages me and Chris and Kat and the growing team. We've got some exciting announcements coming up for you in the coming months and the coming year. I'm an emotional badass. You're an emotional badass. And together, we are where Moxie meets mindful. I'm wishing you high vibes. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.